All right, good morning, KW Milwaukee. Hopefully everybody had a phenomenal weekend. It was, if you're a sports fan, it was a pretty epic weekend. Besides the fact that the Badgers laid an egg in the fourth quarter, being up 13-10, not that I'm bitter about it. Brewers clinched the division. The Ryder Cup was absolutely electric. Even if you're not a golf fan, like I think golf is really boring to watch. It was electric factory. So anyways, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Hopefully your businesses were booming. And I'm going to start out team meeting with a little bit of a different twist. Someone yesterday morning sent me a video from Steve Jobs. And I think if you just tell by what people are wearing in the video. I think the video could be 20 to 30 years old. However, that's not the point. The point of the video is this. He's going to touch on two topics. It's a 90-second clip, okay? The two topics, I believe, are very appropriate and apropos to our business today. And there's two reasons why that I'll recap here in a second. But I'm going to start it off with that. And I want you to take a look and take a moment of reflection as we head into fourth quarter, where I know many of the teams and many individuals have begun planning for 2022. Take a moment to reflect on this 90-second clip with Steve Jobs, because I think it's absolutely incredible insight as to into our industry. I mean, really any industry, but our industry specifically, and the trials and tribulations that we face. So check it out.
You have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people, and you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them, and see how you do and refine your intuition, and be able to help build an organization that can eventually just build itself, because you need great people around you.
Thank you. Liz.
Right. So I lead with that because I know 2021. I mean, really, if you think about 2020 and 2021 back to back, many people in this industry, there's two kinds of people. Either one, you feel like you've been on a treadmill for 2 years and you don't know how to get off, or two, you don't know how to run as getting on a treadmill that's already going 20 miles an hour. You don't know how to keep pace with the rest of the group, and you feel like you're getting left behind, right? And so as I was sent that video and looked at it yesterday morning at about 5:30 in the morning, and I thought to myself, okay, people need to reignite their passion for why it is they do what they do in order for you to focus on what's ahead to keep you going. Because as Steve said, very apropos, any rational person would quit. And it's truly why I believe 80% of the industry doesn't make it to year 2. And the truth is if you don't find your passion for what it is that in the why behind what you do and who you serve, you'll take the rational, easy route, which is to give up before you get started. Right? And that's whether you've been in the business for 20 years or whether you've been in the business for 2 minutes. You got to find that passion. Second thing I'll tell you, whether you're run a team, on a team, or you're an individual agent, the second part of the equation fits everybody in this room. And here's what I mean. If you're on a team or run a team, the separator or differentiator in business is talent acquisition, right? If you think of all the great companies have great talent. Not great companies either have poor leaders or poor talent. Talent is this absolutely the differentiating factor in business. Everybody is in the recruiting game, no matter the industry you're in, because you're seeking great talent. Now, you're sitting here as an individual agent and you say, okay, how do I apply this to my business and what is it that I do? It's who is the talent that I'm partnered with and how are they serving me? So if I'm an individual agent, I'm saying, okay, how do I create leverage? How do I think of ways in which the leadership team or my peers or my counterparts or my co-brokes, am I surrounding myself with the right talent? Is the talent helping me, supporting me, and giving an environment of productivity, of support and success, right? I'll send the clip out because I watched it about 5 or 6 times between Monday morning yesterday and Tuesday morning this morning, thinking about team meeting and thinking about how I almost thought his 90-second clip was speaking directly to our industry. And I would encourage you as we head into the fourth quarter to think about those two topics. What is your passion? Why it is that you do what you do in order for you to be focused and moving forward, in order to forge forward. And the second is around talent acquisition. Whether you run a team, you're on a team, or you're an individual agent, talent is the differentiating factor, and it can help you get to where you want to go. So who you surround yourself with absolutely matters. So I'll send that out. Cool. Second thing, big shout out to Brian Pat. I thought this was a really interesting study. Last week, he sent me this, the best practices for lead response management from the Harvard Business Review. This is, I don't expect you guys to be able to see this on the screen. It's a pretty small detail, but I'll send this up in the Insights and Resources weekly email this afternoon. Here's what you really need to know. They studied 3 years of data. They studied over 15,000 unique leads, and they studied 100,000 call attempts. Now, this is not related to real estate per se in terms of the study. It's more around the study around lead generation. And they came away with 4 conclusions, right? One was the best day to make contact, which was Wednesday and Thursday. 2 was the best times to make contact in terms of times of the day and the response rate of that. 3 was the response time of when the leads came in and when you or anybody serviced the lead, and how the longer you waited on when the lead came in, the less likely you were to convert the lead. And 4 was around the persistency in which you followed up with your leads, right? Super interesting intel and data in this one little pager I found fascinating. It may, as you think about your fourth quarter and you begin to plan ahead for 2022, it may change some of your habits or thoughts around the ways in which you do your business and your approach to lead generation. So be on the lookout for that this afternoon in the Insights and Resources email. Sound good? Sweet. All right, Lindsay Vranick, I'm flipping it over to you to continue our conversation around automation and the 36 Touch campaign for Tech Tuesdays. So what do we got?
Yeah, so you guys, it's just a continuation of last week's training. So last week was a big picture. What is a 36 touch? How do you set it up? How can I piece this together using command? And so a lot of that we talked about smart plans. And so this week is a deeper dive into setting those smart plans up. I'm going to go through more of the specific smart plans that might work great for your business, and how to customize those smart plans. So there's over 900 smart plans in command. So there's a ton to pick and choose from. And those smart plans can consist of emails, whether they're simple or designed email templates, text messages, making a phone call, sending a handwritten note. You can set delays, you can repeat them. And so part of that too is you can create your own custom smart plan. And so we're going to be walking through exactly what does that look like, along with how do you design those email templates. And so again, a deeper dive into exactly what smart plans include, how to set those up. I'm going to give you a few examples of ones that are really great options to utilize to reach out to your Met database.
Lindsay,
yes.
What is smart plan synonymous with?
Automation.
Thank you.
All right. So on another note, you probably heard me talking about this last week as well, if you were in tech training. But most of you probably know Friday is officially October 1st, which means Q4 design templates for the 12 direct postcard campaign are here. So if you're interested in setting this up, again, these are postcard templates. For October, November, December, we have pumpkin patches in southeastern Wisconsin. We have the Milwaukee Bucks schedule, and we have Christmas tree farms again in southeastern Wisconsin. And so these are templates that you can customize the back of the postcard with some different verbiage and obviously your contact information. And then you can set this up to send out in command. So if you guys are interested in setting this up, please either reach out to me or go directly to our KW Realty MKE website and submit a request. It's just a request that comes to me. I'll contact you. We'll set up a time to sit down and go through this. During tech workshops as well this week, I did set up a smart plan if you want to email these templates out as well. So you also have that option. So next screen, Charlie, it's just going to show where you can submit that order form. Under our marketing concierge section, that 12 direct postcard campaign is in there. Click here to sign up. So just submit that request. And obviously you see more information in there with the marketing concierge. You have all of those other options to automate your marketing. So same times this week for tech workshops, Tuesday today in Tosa at 1 o'clock, tomorrow in North Shore at 1 o'clock, and 11 o'clock in Lake Country.
Guys, you want to take your game to the next level. Leverage is the new hustle. Lindsay is here to create leverage in your business to automate your lead generation tactics through things like your 12 direct campaign or things like your 36 touch. Don't hesitate to reach out to set up a one-on-one with her to help you guys set this up. Automate, automate, automate. All right, Joni Reed, we've had quite a roller coaster last few weeks as it relates to buyer's remorse, right? And a lot of people getting into properties and then trying to find themselves ways to get out of properties. And so we thought, guys, it was very, very important we touch on the buyer's remorse topic and making sure that you guys are mitigating your liability. Because I'll tell you this, over the last 12 weeks, I've fielded more phone calls from attorneys in the last 12 weeks than I probably have in the last 12 years. So, Joni Reed, what do we need to know about if a deal is falling through?
Yes, good morning, everybody. This isn't the cheeriest of topics. And usually when it's happening to one of you, your first sentence when you call for what do I do now is, look, this has never happened to me before. I don't know what to do. I've never had a deal fall through. Now I have one. But they do fall through. And as Charlie said, there's been an uptick in the number of calls we're getting, the number of deals that are falling through, and a lot of it is buyer's remorse. There are other reasons why deals fall through, and obviously the key ones are our contingencies. Financing doesn't go through, inspection, they can't get together on agreeing what they want to do about the inspection defects. A lot of times it's all money. The appraisal contingency is a huge hole that deals can fall into and not crawl out of. And again, that has to do with money and sometimes a lot of money. So the next slide, there are other things other than the contingencies and buyer remorse that create a wobbly deal and sometimes that deal falling apart. And some of those are like the seller not curing the defects he agreed to do in the contract or doing it in a sort of partial way. The buyer or seller not showing up at closing. We've had 3 of those instances, I would say, in the last 2 months. Just a no-show. And now what? Undisclosed problems with the property. Things that aren't on the record, didn't come up in the inspection, but certainly pop up their ugly heads before closing. And now what? A big thing that happens, and this is one that really hurts to discuss, but it's the animosity between parties, either between the sellers and the buyers. For some reason, they create this attitude, they don't trust one another, they think the other one's lying, they think the other one's being greedy. And sometimes that spills over to animosity between the agents. And when that atmosphere is created in a deal, it's really hard to pull that deal together for a successful closing, because that's not where we want to be if we're trying to create a win-win situation and go to closing. And a lot of the biggest stops is no agreement to extend deadlines. Sometimes you don't have a long enough deadline in your original offer. And then when it comes to the point where you still need more information, you need more bids, you need more time with your lender, and the other party won't extend the deadlines. Then you're up against a brick wall and things get difficult, if not start to fall apart. So the next slide.
Hey, Joni.
Yeah.
Real quick, just because we have seen an uptick in this, can you just, and I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit.
Sure.
When an agent has a buyer or seller that just chooses not to show up to closing, what's your best advice as to an agent and how to best handle a situation like that? Or if someone were to call you, how do you advise people in those situations?
Well, unfortunately, and I talked about this a little, I talked covered this yesterday in contracts, and this came up then too. Unfortunately, it becomes a legal issue, and we are not authorized to give legal advice. And boy, somebody just standing up and walking out of a closing, which we've had that situation, or a buyer just not coming to the closing and can't reach him or anything. That is a time where our only advice is to seek legal counsel, because we can't go after that other party. We can't do anything. The listing agent and the buyer's agent really don't have any power, because it is a breach of the contract, and the contract's a binding legal document, and we can't solve that. We can try, we can give them some time, try to coax them, but as far as actual action, it's call an attorney.
Yeah, I just thank you for reiterating that. I think sometimes agents find themselves in a position where they're overstepping their fiduciary responsibility as it relates to giving legal advice.
Yep.
And I just want to reiterate to the point, guys, that you need to make sure that you're very clear that you are not able to give legal advice. And in situations like that, there are times where attorneys need to get involved. So I just wanted to rehash that point.
Very, very true. Okay. And this is what we're saying. First, try to negotiate, throw amendments back and forth at each other. Talk on the phone. Don't text your other co-broke, but talk on the phone. Try to get some sanity back into this situation. But it'll be a situation that if all else fails, now we have to enact the termination of the contract. And this is where agents will call and say, I've never done this before. What do I need to do? Do I just send a camera? How do I get out of this? There are 3 things that you need to do to close and terminate a contract. And all 3 things should be present for an enforceable termination. So when the attorneys get involved, we have it all in order. First, there has to be a notice to the offer to purchase to the other side saying why within the terms of the contingencies or whatever, this transaction is now null and void. That has to be accompanied by proof of the contingencies failing, which means a letter from the lender saying I can't fund the deal, or a notice of defect. That's what that is. It's a information why, it's proof why we are getting out of this contract. Without this accompanied proof, the letter or the notice of defect or some other type of evidence that the deal cannot fall apart, you can't issue a camera. And the camera is the finalization. It's the final form authority that releases both parties so they can't go back and sue each other. It also directs where the earnest money is to be sent, and it also cancels the contract legally. So those 3 things have to be when you're ready to terminate an offer. Okay, next slide. So if you're not using contingencies to get out of a contract, which are the easiest things, this is sort of where you see my little insert picture that says lawyer. This is where you need to start considering a lawyer. If you don't have the terms of the contract, like the contingencies to terminate a contract, now is when you're probably going to have to get legal advice, such as buyer's remorse. There's nothing in the contract that covers buyer's remorse and a contingency to get out. And sometimes in order to get out, buyers will fake a contingency failure to get out. Failure to attend closing, alienation of buyer and seller, unforeseen emergencies. But if the buyer defaults, not through a contingency failure, but saying, I don't want to buy this house, the seller has 2 choices: sue for specific performance and request the earnest money as partial payment of the purchase price. Or the seller may terminate the offer and request the earnest money as liquidated damages and sue for actual damages. The reason I want to have this in writing to all of you agents is because this is where sometimes you step in and act like a lawyer. You come in and you say, oh, if they don't do that, then we're going to be able to we can sue them and for all they have, and we can sue and we can get their earnest money back and everything. don't say any of that. You don't know what a lawyer or a court will decide in what happens in a default of a contract. All you can do is point to these choices, and they're in the contract, of the remedy if the buyer defaults. So if you go to the next slide, these are remedies if the seller defaults. And we've seen some of this. The buyer may, if the seller defaults the contract, sue for specific performance, terminate the offer, request the return of the earnest money, sue for actual damages, or both. You can say this to your client because it's in the contract. You can't explain what that means. You can't talk about what the amount of damages are or what specific performance is. That's where you need legal counsel to step in. So one exception to that is if there's a dispute over earnest money, it's my money, no, it's my money, no, it's my money, and I'm not signing until I get the money. These disputes over earnest money can be resolved in small claims court. Small claims means there's a limit to what you can argue over, but not about earnest money. There's no limit to what you can argue over in small claims court in earnest money. So it could be a $10,000 earnest money, $50,000. If there's a dispute, preferably go to small claims. It's only a couple of $100. You put your case in front of a judge on both sides, and he says, you get the earnest money, or you get the earnest money. Much better than hiring lawyers and taking it up another financial level. But as Carol Kriegbaum said to me, please don't be shy about getting an attorney involved in a deal when it gets to this point. She said, an attorney's cost is a lot cheaper than a lawsuit. And when you trying to face a lawsuit, then you've really gone too far. You should get legal counsel before there is an action to filing a lawsuit. So as she said, a lawyer's consultation fees are much cheaper than actually being sued. So the last slide quickly is just to say, how do you prevent this? How do we stay out of this mess? So one of the big things is prepare our clients in buyer counseling. Show them what the steps are going to be. Show them what the pitfalls are going to be. Talk to them about buyer remorse, that it happens. But here's how you prepare to not go into buyer's remorse. And that main thing is information. With your seller side, go through the seller proceeds with your seller. I can't believe that is still a thing that some agents aren't aware of. Do seller proceeds with your seller. Go through buyer costs with your buyer before they write an offer or at the onset of writing an offer. Make sure your client understands the definition of defects. That's both on the seller side and the buyer side. And keep your relationship with other agents positive and professional. Restrain yourself. Maintain this relationship with your client as well. Don't create a negative perception of the other party or agent, because that creates the tornado and deals fall apart. So it's not a cheery subject, but it's something that Charlie and I felt that we really needed to get a lot of people's attention. There are over 100 people on this call, and I'm glad we're able to present this topic.
Yeah, Joni, thank you. Guys, I know it's not the sexiest of topics or the most entertaining or the most energetic. However, when Joan and Steph and Kimmy and I sit down on Monday mornings to talk about what happened from the past weekend, we've just found a consistent theme around this topic, and we wanted to make sure that we addressed it. Because listen, I'll tell you this, you're probably sitting there thinking that you're immune to this topic. And I can tell you you're not, because whether you've sold 1,000 homes in your career, or whether you've sold 10 homes in your career, or you've never sold a home in your career, we've dealt with every single agent on this topic at some point in the last year. And it's just kind of the market of the moment. It's what's driving some of these behaviors within our industry. And so we thought, Joan and I thought it was super important to make sure that we address with this group to help you mitigate your liability and your professional ability to do your job to protect your license. Because I will tell you this as well, consumers are getting smart. And if they feel as if they were wronged in any sort of way, consumers are now going to DSPS, and DSPS controls your license, and they control your ability to continue to earn an income in this industry. And so we want to we like to play proactive defense instead of reactive defense, which is why we touch on topics like this, which may not seem like the most exciting at times, but they're super important so that you guys can continue to earn your income through real estate. Joni, we appreciate everything you do. You've been a phenomenal resource for this group.
Thank you, Charlie.
Awesome. All right, Steph, Lieutenant Kennard, give us a quick update as it relates to GMAR renewals. I know they're due November 30th. Everybody got their renewals in the mail. What do we need to know?
All you need to know is what we've reiterated back and forth last year and every year. Once you renew your GMAR dues online, we'll send out the link to you guys in this morning's recap. But make sure that you are sending us a copy of your confirmation. All North Shore agents, excuse me, send it to Joan Reed. All Lake Country and Tulsa agents, send it to me. So after November 30th, fees start to rack up. So get them in, guys.
Yeah, totally. We have, just for perspective, we have about 60 agents who have renewed their dues so far out of about just over 300 between the 3 locations. So we have some work to do here, guys. Don't let this sit here until the last minute, and don't be the person that's calling us December 31st, trying to figure out how to pay your dues so that your license doesn't go inactive on January 1. Awesome. Thanks, Steph. And guys, if we hit you up with reminders or shoot you a text or give you a call, know that we're doing it from a place that we want to make sure that you're getting your stuff done, and we're not doing it from a place to, bug you because we want to. Awesome. All right, Wooten, give us a quick upcoming trainings and events, as we have the wrapping up September's calendar, and we have a robust calendar coming up in the month of October.
Yeah, good morning. So just wrapping up the month of September. Amanda, are you there to talk about launch coaching today at 10:30?
Yes, she's coming. Go through the month of, or actually here she is.
Hey there. So today is the last week before we're in October. So this is a perfect time to do kind of a wrap up with any open forum questions you have for me, things that you've been working on in all the classes we've had the last several weeks. So it's a great opportunity to just kind of wrap that stuff up, be set to go for the new quarter. And we're going to get a little preview to all of the classes planned for the next quarter. They're all set up. It's going to be awesome. So come in even just for that. That's 10:30 today.
Thanks, Amanda. And then productivity coaching this week in the North Shore at 9 a.m. Janine is going to go through understanding and negotiating the inspection, including writing an inspection amendment. And then also she's going to share with you a lead gen script to kickstart your bold journeys. In productivity 9 a.m. Thursday with Connie in Lake Country, she's going to go over how to run a CMA, the ins and outs of a CMA, and then also doing a property evaluation. So please launch agents, please tune into Tuesday's launch coaching and Thursday's productivity. Also coming up this week, Wednesday at 10 a.m., we have the Fair Hinton group. We can go to the next slide, Charlie. The Fair Hinton group is going to be giving a presentation on powerful client communication. And really what this is designed is to beef up your system. Remember, system stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. This is to beef up your communication system to your clients and really drive home that review and referral process. And they're going to walk away with 7 powerful tools that you can implement today to help grow your business and increase your dynamic communication.
Guys, real quick, if I just want to give a quick plug to the Fair Hinton group, if you need to understand why you should be paying attention to their powerful client communication class on Wednesday at 10 a.m., here's why. I think Kevin 3 years ago was teaching golf on a golf course. And in the next year or so, him and Emily will surpass 100 million in total sales within a 12-month period. So 2 things for that. One is you can get anywhere you want to be within a 5-year period. Kevin and Emily are a true testament to that. And 2, I would want to learn from someone who went from 0 to 100 million in 3 to 5 years, roughly. I'd pay attention to what these guys got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we released the October training calendar. You all received this in an email from me yesterday. Again, please, please, please register for Bold. The link's on the calendar. We're emailing you. It's on Facebook. Please register for Bold. But some of the exciting things that we have coming up is the WRA convention, October 4th through 6th. It is in person in Milwaukee. And we have 2 KW speakers at that convention. Charlie, if you want to skip to the next slide. We have Tommy Choi is our keynote speaker. Tommy Choi is in the Chicago market. We've had him on to do a training with our group before. He's excellent. He's given the keynote address on Tuesday morning. And then Harrison Beecher, also a KW agent, is going to be there all day on Tuesday. And I think there's like 3 or 4 sessions that he's addressing. So lots of content given by some great KW agents at the WRA convention in person in Milwaukee.
Guys, the sweet thing is, real quick, I'll just give you a little quick plug about the WRA convention, which is happening next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, downtown at the convention center. It's only $35. So like, even if you go down and go for a couple hours, or you go down for like the happy hour to mingle with some co-brokes, or you go down to like go and pay attention to Tommy Choi's keynote, which I'll be at next week, Tuesday, highly recommend it. It's $35. There's not a huge hurdle to get into it. It's a great little convention. Now there's some hits and misses on some of the breakouts, but they're overly, generally, you're going to get some broad perspective from across the state at the convention. It may be worth checking out if you want to go down for a few hours.
Thanks. And then last but not least, we have an exciting announcement in the Lake Country office. We are bringing launch coaching to Lake Country. And Charlie, if you can skip ahead a little bit. And our launch coach is going to be none other than Nikki Kunick. Nikki is an educator, and her business has just boomed in the 2 years that she's been licensed. So Lake Country, you will have launch coaching Tuesdays after team meeting at 10:30. And she'll be going over the same content starting October, the first week of October. Everything that Amanda goes through, Nikki will be delivering as well to Lake Country. So super, super excited to welcome Nikki to the launch program.
Sweet. Nikki, welcome. Guys, I'll tell you this a little bit about Nikki. Nikki and I went to Madison together at the same time. We were friends in undergrad. She very similar background to Kimmy Herbert, went into teaching, realizing teaching wasn't her passion, got into real estate in 2 years. This year, she'll surpass $10 million in sales in her first 2 years in business. And a little quick side note, her husband is the defensive coordinator for the Muskego High School football team, which won 51 straight games over the last 3 years. So these guys are massively successful. Nikki, congrats and welcome to Launch Coaching. Cool. All right, guys, I mentioned this last week and we've talked about it on team meetings before. Winter is coming and we've talked about fall cleanup, winter renewal, and setting yourself up for spring and summer explosion. And we've talked about the investment of time, energy, and money it takes, and what it relates and what it does and what Bold does for your business. And I'm not going to go in and hammer this, but I'm just going to show you, guys, facts are friendly. And facts remove subjectivity or emotion from the conversation. So the reason why I share these with you is just to say, listen, I get it. I have a term, and Wooten's heard me say this many times, embrace the suck. Bold doesn't do a whole lot for me. I mean, seriously, on a daily basis, I go into it and I'm like, oh, I know I don't really want to go there, but at the end of the day, I know what the results it delivers for me from a personal accountability and an activity standpoint. And you can see here what it has done for many, many people across their business. Embrace the suck, embrace Bold. I'll see you there starting in October. So here's the dates, here's the reminder, here's the location. All of this information will come out in the Insight Resources weekly email following this call this afternoon. Awesome, here we go. Now, I'm gonna give you a market update as it relates to what we're seeing in the market on a weekly basis. It's been about 8 weeks since I've done this to give you an idea of where I think the fall is headed based on the metrics that we're seeing on a weekly basis so far over the last couple weeks. Here we go, buckle up. Now, showing time activity in the state of Wisconsin, here's what you need to know. It is following trend from what we've seen over the last several weeks. What do I mean by that? We are out, 2021 is outpacing where we were in 2019. And here's what I also know. we are reverting back to historical sales seasonal cycles, as I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Okay. Good news is buyer activity still remains really, really strong. It's actually getting closer to 2020 than we had seen over the last several months and weeks, which means the fall buyer activity still remains really, really healthy as we sit here on September 28th. Now, how does this correlate then to the market activity and market stats? Sales absorption, here's what you need to know. It's the percentage of inventory that goes under contract in a given week. Now, what you see here, the red line, is the last 24-week average. On average, on a weekly basis, we've seen about 12% of the inventory go under contract. You can see from spring into summer, obviously that was above the 24-week average. And since August, we've really remained consistently below the 24-week average. However, here's a little glimmer of hope. The last 2 weeks, we've been a little bit higher. We've had an uptick in sales absorption over the last 2 weeks, and I'll get into why that is here in a few slides. But the good thing to know is 1 week is an anomaly, 2 week is a trend. So something I'll be paying attention to over the next weeks 3, 4, and 5 is if we continue to see the sales absorption rate climb. It's still a very, very healthy number. For this time of year to see around 12% of the inventory going under contract in a given week, really healthy. This is around the time of year where we start to see this dip below 7, 8, 9%. So when I correlate the showing activity to the sales absorption rate, it means buyers are still in the marketplace and active in the marketplace. Now, units that went under contract, similar thing. The red line is the 24-week average. Last week, there were 653 units that went under contract. There has definitely been an uptick since post-Labor Day over the last 2 weeks, right? And we are also, over the last 2 weeks, outpacing the averages on a weekly basis than what we saw in August and in this is early September. So for the last 3 weeks of September. So September has been really, really strong, which is actually counterintuitive to what we would have expected from coming out of August. So September has been a really, really strong month as it relates to units under contract. And this is where you should see closing show up then in October or November. Now, the one thing you definitely need to be paying attention to, and here's my big nugget of the week, is new inventory units. We are starting to fall into shoulder season as it relates to new inventory. So what do I mean by that? We always start to see a dip around October 1st, October, November, December, around new inventory coming to the marketplace. So what is this going to correlate to? Here's my big nugget here in 2 slides. We'll get to the grocery store script. What's actually happening is units going under contract right now over the last 3 weeks has outpaced new inventory units coming to the marketplace. So what the cause on this is buyer activity remains high. New inventory has not maintained the pace of units going under contract. I do start to believe we will see some of, I don't believe it'll be as competitive, but some of the competitiveness and the pressures on pricing that we saw earlier in the spring. Now, what I don't want you to hear is you shouldn't expect the Bridget Ty listing in Tosa with 60 offers, but I do think that there will be more of a competitive situation as we head into the fall, as new inventory units have started to fall into what I call the shoulder season. Make sense? So as a wrap up of what I'm seeing is going on in the market of the moment on a weekly basis, here's my grocery store script of the moment for you. When someone comes up to you in the cheese aisle and says, Patty Eubanks, what's going on in the grocery or what's going on in the real estate market? Here you go. We have reverted back to historical activity cycles within the real estate market. What people need to understand is what happened last fall is not happening this fall. Fall 2020 has proven to be an anomaly within the cycle. Fall buyer showing activity continues to outpace levels of 2019 and is almost on pace with levels in 2020. And demand indicators continue to remain incredibly strong. New listings coming to the market has not maintained pace with those going under contract. Okay, this is why we're starting to see a little bit of a dip. We saw a recovery in inventory in August, right? We're starting to see a dip of total inventory. And if the trend continues over a prolonged period this fall, we need to pay attention to pricing and competitiveness of the market as we head into winter. So if you have buyers that are getting under contract coming in here in November, December, January, it could lead to a little bit more of a competitive market than what we've seen over the last month to 2 months. Make sense? Those are some of the factors that I'm seeing in the marketplace. If you guys have any other sources of information, please send them my way. I'm always looking for information, but that's kind of what I'm seeing, what's going on right now in the market of the moment. Sound good? Sweet. I want to tie a bow on today's team meeting, and I want to replay Steve Jobs' 90-second clip one more time, because I really want to plant the seed and I want to water the seed as you think about where we're headed again for 2022 as it relates to your business, your team, and your talent. So here we go.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people, and you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them, and see how you do and refine your intuition, and be able to help build an organization that can eventually just build itself, because you need great people around you.
Thank you. Liz.
Guys, there's my charge for you. Find your passion, reignite your flame, focus on what's ahead for you and your businesses. And if you need support, we have the talent and resources to make sure that you have your best year yet. Guys, have a great Tuesday. Thanks for spending the time with us. We appreciate it. Lake Country crew, I'll let you jump over to the Lake Country meetup. North Shore and Tosa crew, I'll flip over to new listings and buyer needs. Guys, have a great day.
Hey, Charlie, it's Carla.
Yes, Carla Florence.
All right, 2 new listings.
Hold on, give me 2 seconds so I can pull them up.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I accurately